Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's Enterprise Security webinar. I am Skip Temke. I'm the Field CTO of Virtual Tech Gurus. Our topic today is deploying Palo Alto firewalls at scale, architecture, migration, strategy, and best practices for multi-site enterprise deployments. For organizations managing dozens or even hundreds of branches, firewall deployment is no longer simply a device installation exercise. The challenge is how to standardize security, migrate without business disruption, manage policies centrally, and execute consistently across every location. They will walk you through that journey, from architecture to planning to deployment, migration, validation, project management, and ongoing operations. We'll also have practical lessons from a 42-site enterprise firewall deployment, which we have recently completed for one of our customers. We've got Vijay, Prashant, and Shashikaran with us today. Vijay, let's start with you. Why is firewall deployments becoming such a complex problem for today's enterprises?
Thank you, Skip. That's an interesting start. When we start talking about firewall deployment, especially in the enterprise environment, the firewall is just a one part. The complexity comes from multi-site. When you go like 40 sites, 50 sites, where the scalability and diversity of the environment becomes complex. So primarily, some of the issues or challenges which we commonly face is like the security policy drift. We can't really go into the system, manually configure everything. So that's why product like Palo Alto comes into picture. So the objective is how you can install the Palo Alto firewall without disruption and also maintaining the standards across different sites and different environment, especially when you have different hardware platforms, different branches, different network designs. How do you manage a single standard implementation? So that's the key challenge. Prashant, why don't we get started with the current projects and how do we address these challenges? Over to you.
Hey, hi everyone. Myself Prashant. So yeah, talking about why do we require Palo Alto? We are aware we have multiple different vendors in the market who is providing a similar kind of solutions, or but why specifically when looking for the Palo Alto? So when it comes to the Palo Alto, moving apart from the next generation firewall or using any traditional port-based firewall where or we are doing any sort of filtering based on the just port based or IP addressing, Palo Alto come into the picture with multiple different aspects of it. Okay, because of its different advantage. When it comes to working with the major advantage of the Palo Alto using the app ID. Okay, so as I mentioned, the traditional firewalls, mainly we do open up a firewall policy using the TCP port like port number 443, source and destination. Whereas when it just do the a layer 3 inspection, okay, layer 3 header inspection. But apart from that, when it comes to the Palo Alto, when I'm talking specifically about the app ID, it can identify the specific application, not just basically what protocol it's been running on. It can go more granular and tell us like what kind of different security, what kind of application it is. Apart from that, over and above, Palo Alto also provide a different capability which we call as user ID, where it provides us with to integrate the LDAP or any active directory, where we can provide more granular control to our policy or security policy, how we wanted to access certain application. Okay. Apart from this, it also provide a layer 7 headers visibility. Okay, we can also implement like IPS and anti-spy spyware or URL filtering, or also we can do SSL decryption. Yeah, so these are the different when I say these are different aspect that basically Palo Alto has implemented and has come up with a really good solution and how it presented to us. Okay, so that's the one point. Okay, apart from that, it also provide how we wanted to go with the observability part. Okay, so either we are just implementing one single device, or we have a bunch of devices across the globe in data center, on a cloud premises, or on a remote side. Okay, so it also had comes up with a solution called Panorama. Okay, so where basically Panorama is a kind, you can say, more kind of an orchestration tool where we can manage and maintain uh, all our Palo Alto firewall in one single dashboard. Okay, so it provides us to basically make our configuration consistent, or and also to maintain a proper repository or any kind of changes that needs required. So that's the actual advantage of having the a Palo Alto and dealing with Panorama. Okay, uh, and also Palo Alto good provide really good provides you the interface where we can implement the where we can basically come up with multiple automation thing. Okay, I'm not you guys might be aware about the Terraform also provide a certain service provider block, so that we can automate the Palo Alto firewall. Obviously the Panorama is a really good tool. Okay, but it might be sometimes the cost impacting, but apart from that, we do have other solution which very well integrate with the Palo Alto as a product. Next, if I have to talk about, okay, we can talk about how do we deploy the entire solution, Panorama, Palo Alto, or Prisma Access, or on-prem or cloud-based solution. Okay, so over the years, whatever the migrations or implementation we have done, we have achieved a lot of knowledge, or we have gained a lot of knowledge, and we have a good case studies. Okay, what kind of challenges in real time that a particular customer or particular migration we have faced. Okay, so in a typical network environment, okay, we have multiple layers of it. Okay, where we have a internet router, core router, data center, and we have multiple sites, right? Where we have multiple Palo Alto firewalls. So, for an example, we go with the approach of design, planning, build, validation, migration, testing, and finally documentation, and a handover to the operation and a knowledge transfer session. Okay, this is what we have been practicing over the years, and this is what we have demonstrated in front of our customers. Okay, so when we talk about our design and design plan, we purely believe like more you spend time during your design phase or a planning phase, it will be better for you, it will be less painful for an individual or a engineer, or for a matter of sake for everyone to have less a number of outages, or anyone uh, coming to you and complaining for any certain issues related to application access or whatnot. Okay, so yeah, we basically under design phase, we if you're migrating from one vendor to another vendor, like maybe from Cisco to Palo Alto or FortiGate to Palo Alto or any other. Okay, we basically specifically focus on the design part. Okay, where we define the high level architecture, how is going to be the device group, what are the different device group base, it can be the base on the basis of the per region basis, or how we have a different environment, production, non-production, UAT, we can go with that. Okay, similarly we design the different templates. Okay, under templates we define the different policies or whatnot. Okay, and we decide to bring the consistency into the entire plan. Okay, we try to make the deployment consistent across all the data centers. So it will everything will be like if we have to make any certain change on one specific firewall, or we wanted to roll out a certain change on the firewall across all the global all the firewalls, we can do it using the Panorama. Okay, so yeah, planning the zone, how the interface work, how the routing works, what are different security policy, what are different NAT policies, how does the logging happens, and what is the HA standard that we follow. Okay, once we have identified the existing firewall configuration, and then using the different tools like maybe the Palo Alto Expedition tool to convert all those configuration as per the standard of Palo Alto, we basically use the we do a due diligence. Okay, and identify if we are missing or do yeah so that's the one approach that we once rather than taking multiple sites at a time, what we do is basically we try to implement and this is what we have been doing, focused 100% focus on one specific site, so we can learn from what are the improvisation that we have done, and what are the changes that we required in a change plan, or what are the lesson learned from that one specific site. So that's going to be our reference point for the next site. Okay, so this is what our strategy is: design, planning, then testing it to one side, and then basically doing a building it, doing a validation, and at the final doing the cuts. Okay, yeah, so that's what our approach is. So yeah, so talking about this, I would like to hand over next segment, how we have done, what we have done, and what's been our migration strategy, to Vijay, to let us know, uh, let you guys know what we have been doing.
Yes, thanks, Prashant. Yeah, I totally agree with you. So, especially when it comes to the handover, the documentation, knowledge transfers plays a key role, so that the operations team can take it forward and ensure everything is smooth and operating as expected. Let's talk about the migration strategies. Primarily, we need to go with the phased approaches. When you work on an enterprise environment, you need to have a clearly planned what are the phases you're gonna roll out and what is the scope of pilot. Especially this pilot is very important because it allows you to validate the architecture, verify the deployment process, and also verify all kind of assumptions before enabling the scaling. So assessment is the first step. Then we go with the pilot side. Then you create different waves and you go for the production environment deployment, and finally the optimization. um, I think, Prashant, when it comes to the migration strategies, when we go into different phases, how early you can detect the issues or the challenges? Can you quickly explain us about that?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, like our approach is not to migrate all the devices at one single go. We truly believe like focusing one side at a time. Okay, so once we have that, okay, as Vijay mentioned, pilot side is going to be our site for all the testing, what's the lesson learned. Okay, so for each pilots, for the each side, we try to understand what's the routing behavior, what can identify what are the different applications that we have using that firewall policy, what are dependency, if there is a NAT policy is required, if there is a IPsec tunnel is running on, what are different changes that is required on the vendor side or on the if customer side. Okay, so once we have noted out, we have created maybe an Excel or a smart sheet where we identify each and every other issue, and we basically try to address one at a time. Okay, so once we have our skeleton prepared for the entire migration perspective, we do a checkbox. Okay, and we try to do a checkbox for each of the item that we have written down in that specific checklist. Okay, that's what's the approach we have been doing. Okay, and that's going to be our reference point for all other sites that we have done in the past, and we are planning to do it. Okay, I do understand there might be every other site will be different depending upon how big the size is and what's the purpose of the site and what are different application. But having being checked a skeleton or a checklist will always help us, okay, to do that. Yeah, and whenever we come across any kind of a challenge, we try to make sure that we document all each of the issues, so that next time when we are running a similar kind of issue, we are ahead of it. Okay, and apart from that, also we believe in, this is what the approach where we have done with few of the customers. Okay, where user have been particularly running the IPsec tunnel on the Palo Alto firewall, we try to build up a parallel setup. Okay, and each parallel setup we try to do a phased migration for each of the certain application or certain flows. Yeah, or certain zone. Yeah, so that's what the approach we have been doing. Yes, so I think that's the specifically when we are looking for the migration strategy. Yep. I think I would like to hand over to Shashi Kiran, okay, to tell let Skip and Shashi Kiran like how we have done our report deployment and what was the outcomes for that. Yeah.
Thanks, Prashant.
Josh, let's move to execution. When we're deploying across multiple locations remotely, what does the actual deployment process look like?
Yeah, in the remote deployment process, following the controlled sequence, We start with the receiving access and validating the connectivity, importing the configuration. We can also configure HA and also pushing the configuration through the Panorama and also verifying execution and migration. And also we have test failover and completing the business validation. And also we can, in the remote deployment, the important point is that every step is controlled and validated. For every site, we need to know the what we are cleaning, what we are validating, and what our rollbacks options is. This is the particularly important in remote deployment because we don't have any engineers physically standing at the every branch. And also, before cutover, several times must be completed configuration backups and change approvals, and also confirming maintenance window and tested rollback plan. During the cutover, we validating all the policies like NAT, VPN, security policies, and also applications. After migration, we move into monitoring and stabilizing, followed by the document and knowledge transfer. A migration plan must include both the technical cutover and business validation. And also, we need to, in a firewall, can appear technically healthy or while an important business applications is still impacted. Application owners and business stakeholders therefore need to participate in validation process. Yeah, that is the main process in.
Our logs to forwarding the logs to the a centralized tool, okay, like maybe it can be Splunk or Devo or Elasticsearch, anywhere. So where when it the all the logs goes to a centralized tool, life become easier when it comes to when doing a troubleshooting. Okay, so it's a much easier way to organize. Obviously Palo Alto Firewall maintains the logs on its own, but for any kind of a historical data, we definitely need these kind of tools to be integrated with the Palo Alto for the log forwarding. And one and the final thing that we I always recommend is like how we are doing, what are the points or what are the validation points that while we are doing it during the HA failover while doing the migration testing. Okay, it's not like if the firewall is running active and active and passive. Okay, we the firewalls are running fine. This is not the thing that we need to actively do a failover testing. I can talk about one of the recent scenario where we ran into an issue where we see the tunnel monitoring was up on the firewall, okay, on the IPsec tunnel. However, when the tunnel monitoring was disabled, the firewall didn't fail over. Okay, so we have to make sure that when we are doing any kind of testing after the migration, it has all the valid points to be considered. Okay, and all the failover scenario. And one and the last thing that I would like to always emphasize, like we document each and everything. We take all the backup, all the operational status, all the running configuration, and we keep it handy in a one specific secure location. Okay, so in case if anything goes south, we'll always have a backup, okay, available. We always have a backup to basically roll back the changes. Okay, so this is the best practice that we have been implemented across all our deployment, and this is what I believe in the industry we should be doing it. Yeah, so yeah, this is I think all. Next I would like to talk more about how we have done this deployment and uh, how we have achieved it. Shashi, about it for different customers. Yeah.
Yes.
Shashi, would you mind walking us through the deployment?
Yeah, thank you, Prashant. Yeah, let me share one of the project that best demonstrates this methodology. Actually, we worked on deployment involving some of locations, and the entire project was completed remotely. Instead of treating each branch as separate project, we designed one standardized architecture using Panorama. And also we create common templates, shared policies, and device groups that could be reused across every location. And also we started with the pilot site to validate our design and deployment process. Once the pilot site was successful, we rolled out the remaining sites in multiple deployment waves. Why pilot site uses? Because we face some of challenges in pilot site. We learn lessons from the pilot site. After every deployment, we reviewed what went well, identify areas for improvement, and applied those lessons to the next site. At each location, we validating high availability, routing, NAT, and VPN connectivity, and business applications before considering the migration complete. The biggest lesson from the project was the standardization significantly reduced deployment time and also minimizing the risk and made ongoing operations much easier. That are the main deployment success story.
Thank you very much, Shashi. Why don't we talk about the lessons learned? Every good project ends with a lessons learned session among the team. What have you guys learned in doing this last project?
Yeah, every project teaches us something, and this deployment was no exception. There are five key lessons I would like to share. Main thing is the first is planning. Planning is the very important part of the migration part. The more time we spend understanding the existing environment before deployment, the smoother that migration becomes. And second lesson is standardization. Using Panorama templates and device groups ensures every site follows the same design and reduces the configuration errors. And also third one is automation. We need to validate all checks and help identity issues before production, reducing the manual effort. That is the main thing in that step. We have learned that fourth lesson is testing. We can never assume availability or VPN are working just because they are configured. Always we can validate them during the maintenance window. Finally, final and last, this is the very important thing, that is documentation. Good documentation are help the operation teams to support the environment, and we can constantly after the deployment and we can hand over to the teams. These are the main 5 practices consistently helped us deliver successful firewall deployments. This is the main lessons.
Prashant, anything for you to add?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so I would like to thanks for that, Shashi. All the lesson learned are the valid points. Apart from that, I would like to emphasize more on the standardization point of view. Okay, so we have seen a lot of place where customer doesn't follow a specific standard while implementing this the Palo Alto deployment, or for matter of sake, it's not only related to the Palo Alto. How do we standardize? We wanted to bring consistency across all the sites or a data center or a remote access or branch office that we maintain. Okay, it is easier for anyone who is coming to the organization new, or he is not familiar about the organization. Looking at one single diagram, he can have a very good bird's eye view to understand what exactly the how exactly the topology work, how exactly the routing works, and what are the different aspects, and what exactly the infrastructure work. Okay, so this is what we have been focusing, and we have we have faced these challenges every time where customer have a different deployment at each and every site. Okay, but yeah, so again, standardizing the thing makes your life easy, anyone, and makes the architecture help. And basically we can utilize Panorama or Palo Alto as a solution really nice to make it at a larger scale, though it's a template, policy, naming convention, or the validation process, or any kind of a deployment. Yeah, I think that would be all from my end. Yeah.
BJ, how would we summarize what we've spoken about today?
Sure. Uh, Thank you, Prashant and Shashi, for the detailed explanation. Just to provide a quick recap of what we discussed, right? I would like to list the key takeaways. The first one would be the centralized management, where Panorama gives an enterprise centralized control plane. And the second one will be the faster rollouts. When you have a standardized templates and repeatable process, the acceleration of the deployment is much better. Third is lower risk. When you go with a phased approach or in a pilot deployments, you reduce the risk of having issues in a large scale production deployments. Fourth is standardized security. Centralized securities and these reusable configurations or predefined configurations will definitely reduce the security policy risks. Fifth one, easier ongoing operations. Right from documentation, process enablement, governance, project management, and also the knowledge transfer will definitely help the team to take it forward with ease, and any team who steps in can maintain and ensure everything runs smooth. Ultimately, deploying firewall at scale is not just a firewall project. It is an architecture. It's a combination of architecture, migration, operations, and change management exercise. So these are the 5 key takeaways I would recall of this session. And mostly for the audience, if your organization is looking any kind of a transformation, BTG can support you on the full life cycle. This includes Palo Alto deployment, migrations, implementations, security level consulting, managed services, health check, and optimization. The main objective of us is to help your organization move from a fragmented, manually managed firewall deployments to a standardized and security-enabled architecture. So that's it, Skip. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Vijay. And also thank you, Prashant and Shashikiran. At this point, we'd like to ask you guys what you think. You members of the audience, please share your questions in the Q&A panel, and we would be happy to discuss those with you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Skip. So that was really a wonderful delivery. So the important point is that the starting point doesn't necessarily have to be a major transformation. Like, it can begin with understanding the current environment, identifying the gaps, and defining the right next step. So if anyone, this audience, would like to discuss their own Panorama architecture, migration plan, policy complexity, or operational challenges after today's session, please reach out to us. Please reach out to ET's team.
Yeah, our contact information is on the last slide. Of course, we'll be sending out the recording to you guys later. And we would love to speak with you anywhere you are in your life cycle of firewall implementation. Be it you've got an implementation you want to validate by using a health check, or you think that you're ready for a refresh or a change. We can help you with the entire process from design all the way through optimization and managed services on the back end. And finally, just even if it's just for a Q&A session, we would love to engage with you and assist you in any way we can with doing the most important thing that anyone can do in an organization today, and that is protecting yourself. So at this point, we're going to have someone launch the exit poll for you guys so you can let us know what you thought of the webinar, if there's any topics you'd like to discuss further, and any feedback that you'd like to provide to us. We would love to hear from you. Thank you all once again. Thank you to my team for putting this together, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all. Please share us your feedback, questions. Really appreciate that. Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you again
Thank
for
you, team.
joining. Thank you all.